It is the Sports Fix here on Flow FM. Another massive weekend of Speedway just gone and a huge weekend coming up. Let's hope they get through all of these with lots of precipitation set to fall across the country. But Bruce joins us now to talk about the racing from last week. Speed cars, sprint cars. How are you, Brucey?
Yeah, not bad, Jason. Gee, I can see no relation there to Darryl Eastlake. Where's the huge weekend? Fire up there, my son. Oh, look, it was massive, wasn't it? And look, without much further ado, we'll get straight into it. Murray Bridge had a meeting last week with the V6 Sprint feature. And we don't see a lot of this class a real lot, especially around Murray Bridge. They quite often race up at Wakery or Renmark. But they had a run at Murray Bridge last week, and it was Nick Hall in the S8 getting the chocolates. And I tell you what, Jason, this Nick Hall, I'd love to see him drive a sprint car. He is just unstoppable in this class of the V6, and I think that's something like about 4 or 5 of his last features. He's got the chocolates, so he is just in sensational form. Damien Eve got second, and you'd be pretty happy with that when you're behind Nick Hall. And a good drive by the lady driver, Renee Filer, in third place in the V6s at Murray Bridge. The main show there last week was, of course, the sprint cars, where they originally had 18 nominations. It dropped back to 16 for a couple of reasons. I think one car didn't come up, and somebody else had to pull out as well. So there was a couple that pulled out, but it's still a pretty good nomination for South Australia in 16 cars. And it was an absolute brilliant night. And look, it just had everything, and the track was just fast. And the win went to none other than Matt Eagle in the S52, taking out the Ultimate Pink Knight in sensational form. His 4th win this season, Jason. He also took out, if you remember, the Bill Wigsell Battle of the Bridge. And, of course, he also took out the hotly fought Darwin Chariot of Thunder up there. He got the first 2 nights up there in the start of the Speedway season. So 4 A-main wins for Matt Eagle. So fair to say he's on fire. Luke Dillon was in second, and a good performance by Luke. He's been back a little while from a shoulder accident, driving go-karts. So good to see that he's just starting to come through now. The shoulder's starting to strengthen up and handle these big beasts of 410s. And Daniel Pesca out of Strathalbyn in third place. Good to see him on the podium. Brad Keller in 4th, and Mount Gambier's own Glenn Sutherland in 5th. So it was a very good night's racing, and it was a lot of action. Ryan Jones, sadly, in the A-main, pretty much on the first lap, his tyre got caught up in a mishap, and consequently the back tyre went down pretty quick, and that forced him out. So rotten luck there for Ryan Jones in the S63 with the sad DNF right against his name.
That is not a good way to finish things, but is that all of the details from Murray Bridge, Bruce?
Yes, that wraps up Murray Bridge.
We'll move on next to, I guess, the meet we need to talk about next was at Perth, where they had 360s and 410s, I think, getting around the track there. Is that right?
Yeah, they had the 2 classes over there. Of course, for those not familiar, the 360s, 360 cubic inch, the 410s, 410 cubic inch. The 360s have got about 600 horsepower. The 410s have got about 900 horsepower. So there's a fair difference. And in the 360s, the A-main finish over there at Perth Motorplex, it was taken out by Mitch Wormel. A good win. He hasn't had much success lately in the W97, and he took it from Jason Pride. Good to see Pridey, who we do a bit of media work for in the W14, in second, and Ryan Lancaster in third place in the 360s. In the big boys in the 410, well, they just can't get enough of it, some of these blokes. They just jump out of one car and they're into the next. And almost like playing footy, mate, where you play B grade, leave the strides on and run out in the A grade. And these guys are just can't get enough of it. Like Jason Pride running in both classes, which is just amazing. So in the 410s, it was the Maddington Toyota Series, round 2, and it was taken out by Daniel Harding. So great to see Daniel Harding in the W41 on top of the podium from James Inglis and David Priolo rounded out that top three in the Maddington Toyota Series round 2 over there at the Perth Motorplex.
Excellent. All right, then we head to Archerfield up north. Let's have a look at what went on there. A big field and a familiar name taking the checkered flag.
It was the East Coast Logistics Series up there, round 4 at Brisbane's Archerfield Speedway, and a good crowd in attendance. And Lockie McHugh, look, back in the winners list. He's had it so easy last year. He just notched up a win every week. This year, well, there's a little bit of a contest on to get this checkered flag, and it's been the T22 that's upset him a couple of times in Jock Goodyear, but it was Luke Oldfield who was right on his heels. Oldfield, of course, has got an A-main win up there this season. I think he might even have a couple. So McHugh getting the chocolates in the NQ7 from Oldfield, and Tim Farrell, who is back racing in the Q51 in third place, getting on that podium. So pretty good performance there in that race. And unfortunately, Jock Goodyear did not race in the A-main, had some damage earlier in the night, which forced him out. But, McHugh, as you said, back in the winners list.
Very good news for him and his connections, and you too, Bruce, because I know you're a fan. You would have loved to have seen him grab the checkered flag, I'm sure.
Oh, look, it's great to catch up with these guys. We'll look forward to getting back to seeing them and that, but with this COVID and that. But look, we get around to the tracks as many as we can, and it's great to get up, catch up with the drivers. And last weekend, I was fortunate enough to catch up with Daniel Pesca from Strathalbyn, and you see these guys going around the track and that, and look, it's Daniel Pesca, just a thin man. He's only a young fella, and look, it's good to be able to go and just see them and in the real flesh, as they say in football. And look, a real art it is, this sprint car driving with 900 horsepower. We thought we'd touch on a little rule in the middle of the break tonight, and a little rule in Speedway is if you are the cause of a stoppage, whether that be your own fault, pretty much, it means you go rear of field for the restart, providing you haven't done too much damage that you can restart. So there's a little rule in Speedway. We'll try and make that a new segment each week. We'll come up with a rule for the fans listening, and it really is a rotten bit of luck when that sort of thing happens, especially when you're in front on with about 2 or 3 laps to go.
Yeah, Bruce, just doing some educating for our listeners today when it comes to Speedway as well. Let's have a look at what's going to be a frenetic weekend of racing across the country. And we're going to start in Toowoomba, one of 5, count them, 5 meetings across the nation. Plenty of nominations for this particular meet, Bruce.
Oh, look, you're starting to get the sense, aren't you, that Speedway's back. It's not far away. We'll see some opening up of New South Wales and Victoria. Let's take a look first at the High-Tech Oils Speedway at Toowoomba in the USC Queensland Round 2. This should be an absolute beauty. 37 nominations, if you don't mind. And look, Lockie McHugh will go in as probably one of the favourites. Brent Kratzman will give him a pretty tough time. Luke Oldfield, Cody Morosky, Randy Morgan. So there's some of the names to look out for. And then, of course, you've got the experienced drivers in that too, like Callum Walker. He's certainly around the mark, and Brian Mann. So, look, that should be a big meeting. Look, 37 cars. They'll probably divide that up into, I would say, possibly 5, a round of 5 heats, so 2 rounds of 5 heats with 37 cars. So that should be a massive meeting up there at High-Tech Oils Speedway at Toowoomba.
All right. Along with that, you mentioned it, in Lismore, New South Wales, we're back in action. It's great to have a meet back in New South Wales. Lismore it is this weekend.
Well, they've probably put the checkered flag and the green flag and the red flag. They've probably thrown them through the washing machine this week, Jason, to just get that dust off them because, look, it's been a long time between drinks and, look, great to see it opening up. And, look, this should be an absolute beauty. It is the New South Wales Sprint Car Club Championship, round 1 at Lismore Speedway. And there's 15 nominations, and amongst those nominations we see guys like Chris Mcinerney, Luke Thomas, Mark Attard, and certainly some really good talent in this, Michael Saller and Sam Walsh, to name just a few that are really up and about in this class of 410 sprint car racing. Caught up with Chris Mcinerney, really nice lad, driving out of New South Wales in the N40. Caught up with him up at the Chariots of Thunder a couple of years ago. Would you believe it? In one of the holiday parks swimming pools. So there wasn't too much room for Chris, mind you, Jason, once I hopped in the swimming pool. But looked great to catch up with him, and a really great guy driving out of New South Wales, Chris Mcinerney. But look, little inside information there. Moving quickly into South Australian Speedway, back at it again this week, and it should be a ripper weekend up at Whyalla Speedway. And look, they have got to round 2 of the Whyalla Track Championship, and look, about the same nominations as their last meeting a couple of weeks ago. 11 nominated, a couple of drivers unfortunately not there in Putty. He's one that I see, and Max Vidot, he had a bit of damage in one race a week or two ago. So it is pretty tough for these drivers out there, Jason. The parts are very expensive, and one big sort of smash can really, at this sort of unprecedented times, the prize money's not as much as normal, and it can be pretty tough for them to get back out for continuous back-to-back meetings. But looking at the field in this one, well, Ryan Jones took it out last time, and I'm sure Matt Eagle has got a point to prove with Jonesy, so that should be worth the admission fee. Eagle in the S52, Jones in the S63, that will be certainly something to watch. They tell me Jones up there last meeting, he was that fast, he just couldn't stop him. So that should be brilliant with Eagle coming off his 4th A-main win last week. Good to see Luke Bowie running again. Didn't run at Murray Bridge last week, so he's running up at Whyalla. Lisa Walker back in the chair of the S4. So great to see Lisa Walker back. She has had a couple of weeks off. She was driving the go-kart competition there. I think that was for a South Australian title. So, well, great to see her back. Ketty Fallon out of Loxton, and Jamie Henry making the trip up there. Daniel Pesca, Chris James, Quentin Warner. So some good names in amongst that 11 small field. Should be some action-packed racing up there at Whyalla Earthworks Speedway at Whyalla.
Indeed. We head west next, where we go to Perth Motorplex. Plenty of nominations here, over 2025 in fact, and they'll be going at it in round 3 of the Maddington Toyota Series.
Oh, look, should be an absolute ripper, this one. That's probably up on the normal Perth nominations. They usually get around 18 to 20. 25 is a really good mix. This is the City of Kwinana Cup, and that's not badly pronounced for a South Aussie, I tell you. Look, we've been over there. Great place there at the Perth Motorplex, and this should be a ripper night with some of the drivers to watch out for. Chase Kopenko out of the Northern Territory. I see he's running in the W53, so that should be a absolute brilliant one, that one, to see him there, one of Northern Territory's guns. You've got Brad Maiolo. He blew a motor last week. Callum Williamson blew a motor last week, so you've got him. That's his second motor this year, apparently. So then you throw in guys like Dane Kingshot driving that Cricky Motorsport W2, so he'll be one to watch. Jason Pride, you can't write him off. He's come off a good weekend last week. Jason Kendrick. And the big news out of Perth is the fly-in of Robbie Farr in the W14, joining up with Jason Pride, the Queensland gun, Farr, to really set his presence, I would say, early in this meeting for the Maddington Toyota Series in Perth. So should be a great night's racing. All the results for that can be seen on local sprint car photography and media Facebook page.
Indeed.
Wrapping up, buddy, we've got the Hobart races, and look, great to see them in amongst it. Back with the 410s. Good nominations too, 14 for Hobart Raceway. And looking at some of these noms, we have spoken of a couple of them, Nick Penno and Jamie Bricknell. and Luke Redpath. So some names in this list. Tate Frost would be my pick in the T8. He's been across the mainland and raced a bit at Warrnambool, so seen a bit of Tate Frost. I'll put him up there on the podium to get the win this weekend. So, look, mate, that's an action-packed weekend to review 5 big Speedway meetings, and I can just smell the beautiful fuel in the air, and I can smell Sydney just starting to, and Melbourne just starting to open up. It's great to the Classic that there in January is still happening, so the green light's still on. So we're really looking forward to, at this stage, putting the caravan on and getting over there to the Grand Annual Sprint Car Classic, which is just, 9 weeks away. So really smell it in the air now as we come close to that New Year period for the sprint car racing.
Good stuff, Bruce. Another big week on the track. Huge weekend. Check out local sprint car photography and media for all of the details across the weekend. And Brucey, we'll catch up with you again next week to find out how it all went on the track, mate.
Oh, I hope you're not recording this because there might be a few winners and probably a lot of losers.
Good on you, mate.
Great fun having a tip, and we'll catch up with you at the races next weekend.